Welcome to the Sophia Moore podcast, Wisdom in Love with C. Austin III. I'm C. Austin III, and let me tell you, I am so excited today. Today is the launch of my brand new website, soberinsixtyseconds.com. That's SI60s.com. soberinsixtyseconds.com. And as part of launching the website today, I'm going to read the site dedication because this is important for me. This gives you a little bit of insight about why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this is going to be the audio version of the site dedication. I start my days by connecting with gratitude, so I want to start by thanking Dr. Daniel Callahan. You can check out his work at chartauditor.com. And the amazing web design work of Seamus Callahan, cwdsolutions.net, without whom this site would not be possible. Many yesterdays ago, in fact, many years worth of yesterdays, I attempted suicide because I didn't believe there was a plan or a hope for a future. I couldn't see today. Come to find out that just today, this very day alone, October 29, 2024, I would have missed my daughter making the basketball team, go Warriors, Madison being 6.5 months pregnant with our son, my first film, Things Are Tough All Over, as a leading man, having its world premiere in Chicago thanks to amazing writer-director Chris Bournet. You might not see it tomorrow just like I couldn't. I didn't know what all the tomorrows would bring. At the time, I just assumed that they would all be bad because all the yesterdays left me empty and hopeless. And I want to give a trigger warning here because this topic could be sensitive for some readers and listeners out there. I'll give you a few examples of why the yesterdays left me hopeless. I came from a family that did a lot of generational good in the community, whether they were serving in the military, providing church outreach, or working in healthcare and education. And acknowledging that many things can be true at once, and maybe you can relate to in your own family dynamic, my family also had its own generational curses. Drug and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, verbal abuse, criminal activity, and constant visits to incarcerated family members. And as a child in this dynamic, I remember being internally motivated to succeed, to be my own individual, while also feeling tremendous external pressure from some other family members who didn't want me to be like so-and-so. And I tried hard to present myself well and excel in school. However, I often felt unconfident and socially anxious. And I remember some family members getting really mad at me when I was younger because I wouldn't speak. And it was because I was incredibly shy. And then they would get mad and think I was being rude. No, I was just very shy, and I was so anxious I couldn't speak. Other situations, I was able to mask it really well. I also didn't understand the full impact that various traumatic experiences were having on me. And in part because trauma was normalized as business as usual. So for example, family member showed up at my home, a fury of tears and a shotgun. They're crying and saying their goodbyes as they threaten to blow their head off. And they jump back in their car, tires screeching down the street. I was 13 years old, devastated and terrified. Family member called the police, and we were informed that the suicidal family member may attempt suicide by a cop, which would have resulted in them being killed by the police if they were armed and dangerous. With nothing else to be done, I was encouraged to just do your homework because, well, what else was I supposed to do? And trying to get through that day, I recalled that same suicidal family member attempted to get me to learn to be a tough son of a bitch. And I thought that life was giving me that message as well. I was a sensitive child with a lot of compassion and empathy, but it seemed like having a heart was despised and more of a liability than an asset. I thought life experiences were teaching me to use anger as a shield of protection, and I got really good at protecting myself with anger. And as I became an adult, numerically, that is, my own cycle of earning a mugshot or two saw me drift so far away from being a child of hope. Straight A's in high school, I was distant from the individual I once was with a college degree and promising talent. I learned how to drink like my family, and bars with my bar family. I knew how to bottle up my emotions, literally. I knew how to be a nice guy until I couldn't take it anymore and then explode. And feeling stuck within internal and external chaos, I spent so much time hating myself, shaming myself, and arguing with myself about how things were never going to change and what a worthless POS I was. I grew up to become a young man with wasted potential. I became a part of the cycle I wanted to escape. It wasn't until I was hospitalized after a suicide attempt in my early 20s that an exceptionally good counselor showed me the power of changing my thinking. She showed me CBT skills of challenging irrational thoughts and replacing them with balanced thinking. Even beliefs and worldviews that I was convinced were true could be challenged and replaced with a more affirming and balanced outlook. Now, this might not seem important to someone who is unfamiliar with feeling like you're stuck in your own head and can't quiet the negative self-talk, but I'm telling you, this counselor gave me, it was a glimmer of hope that I thought didn't exist. I always thought I was a hopeless problem and nothing, and I mean nothing, could be done about it. She helped me see that I could discover answers inside of me. If I was willing to learn, grow, adjust, challenge myself, and show up to work on the man in the mirror, maybe life could be different. Maybe I had value. Maybe I could fight like hell against the power of shame, stop trauma's message of doom, and replace the hopeless assumptions about the future. Maybe I could change my thinking, processing, and responding in a way that wasn't rooted in shame and self-destruction. Maybe, even what they call God loved me. Growing up in a family very active of the church, up until this point, I was convinced God didn't love me. What was there to love? I didn't even love myself at all. See, my all-or-nothing brain wasn't sure about the answer to that kind of a theological question just yet. But it was nice for me to think that maybe I was loved unconditionally, without shame or hatred. Upon discharge from the hospital, followed by a partial hospitalization program, and desiring to seek more answers, I found myself opening my Bible and came across a passage that also began to change my life. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. 2 Corinthians 10, 3-5. And there it was, kind of like how the counselor showed me. Maybe there was power to intentionally challenge, demolish, and replace every argument in my head that didn't bring me peace. And I'm not going to tell you that you have to study or read any religious scripture, and where I am now, I've come to take great joy in reading and applying spiritual truths I find wherever I can find them, whether it be from various religions or philosophers. What I'm telling you is that based on what the counselor showed me about the power of challenging and replacing old, outdated thinking styles, coupled with the previous passage about demolishing the strongholds and arguments taking place in my head, it finally all seemed to be more than a maybe. I finally felt empowered to change my life from the inside out. And it was going to start with giving my beliefs, my ideas, my worldviews, and self-image a new message that fed my starving soul with hope for a future. My first life-changing spiritual truth was that I had the power to change my mind. In changing my mind, I would change my life. I could write a new life story that gave me hope. I could redefine, reinvent, and reclaim my life. I started reclaiming my potential and devoted my time to studying and applying anything and everything that stimulated growth and character development, challenged old ideas, improved my confidence, and provided spiritual or truth foundations as a way to live an enriched, thoughtful, and meaningful life of peace. I didn't know the new mind I was developing already had a term for it. Sober, meaning unhurried, calm, and with a thoughtful demeanor. The Greek word for sober, and I am not a expert Greek speaker, but the Greek word for sober is nepho, means temperate, self-controlled, calm and steady, and uninfluenced by intoxicants. And toxic people, I want to point out, and intense emotions can be intoxicating and a strong influence over us too. Nepho also means vigilant and circumspect, which means to look around, assess a circumstance before taking action. That means impulse control. To change my life, I truly needed to develop and utilize a sober mind. And people ask me today how I am so patient, steady, and calm under pressure. And I laugh to myself because they don't know what the journey has been like. But I am so grateful they see evidence of the work I've done on myself by developing and living the lifestyle of a sober mind. And I do not live the lifestyle of a sober mind perfectly. I have my own triggers, annoyances, poor moods, and can hit a wall of exhaustion. But I have learned it's not about being perfect. It's about being well. I'm so thankful to be well. And there still is so much more to learn. So never think you have arrived. Stay hungry for growth and development with a sober mind guiding you. Earlier, I shared how my yesterdays left me hopeless, and I want to tell you that your today is beautiful because you're in it. And I understand that might be hard to accept and take in. I get it. I can also tell you the truth is, who knows what beautiful things you may miss out on. So don't give up. So many people I have known are no longer here, and I miss them. I think about them, and you're thought of. And you matter. Hang in there today. You might be closer to a better tomorrow than you think. Give yourself permission to change your mind, even if you are convinced nothing can change. Maybe it can. It can. One last thing. Don't waste one more breath or precious moment of life on haters. They don't share your destiny, but if you allow them to occupy your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual real estate, then they have ownership of you. And nobody owns you. Nobody owns you.